Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, we're gonna have some good fights this evening. In England, and you're gonna see a nice prospect, heavyweight prospect, in Mosley Tama go against Dillian White. Established veteran who's been in the ring with a lot of good fighters and got a couple of good wins too in his career, and is a mean dude with a mean left hook. So this is a stepping stone for Moses Itama. It's gonna be an interesting fight. You got Philip Herkovich versus David Adelea. So that's gonna be also very interesting. So it's a pretty good fight, pretty pretty good fight card in England, and let's just check it out. But now that we're talking about England, you know, as an American, I've always said, over the years that the American fighters, the Black American fighters, uh, in America there's no white champion, right? And the white American champion. Caleb Plant was the only one very close. I mean, became a champion. We really don't have too many white American boxers. That's why MMA is what it is, because in boxing it just doesn't pan out for the white Americans. And the Black American boxers never get to enjoy being considered, you know, being appreciated. And you can see that by the fact that when you watch fights, and I told you before, this is nothing new for people that the Doma Dynamites, you guys know, black boxers, if they're not in their hometown, they're going to get booed if they're fighting a non-black fighter. It just is what it is. It could be Mexican, it could be any kind of Latino, or it could be Eastern European or anything, or European. If they're not black, they're going for the other guy. Examples would be Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder and stuff like that. Gennady Golovkin versus anybody, brothers. Because even matter of fact, Daniel Jacobs, I think they fought in New York, and more people were going for for Gennady Golovkin than Daniel Jacobs. Lomachenko versus anybody on American soil of color. So it is what it is. America's what it is. It's New Russia for me. I'm very disappointed in how open white supremacy is in America, and all the crime that we're seeing, all the ignoring of the Constitution and the rule of law. We look away from crime when people, white people, do it. January 6th, is a bunch of tourists. Change that. Let that be the half of the amount of people that attacked January 6th, our Congress, and make them Muslim. And what would it have been? The whole world would have been outraged. So, just things like that I'm just sick of. And you know how I talk about it all the time, but I'm just sick of it. So we'll move on. The point about this is we still try to coddle and look for the acceptance of what white people might think of you. Black boxers shouldn't fight in the States. They should not fight. You never know what you have until it's gone. And I think that, there has to be, taking away the black experience. If you're not going to appreciate the black experience, and there's just envy here and hate for it, right? This quality boxing needs to be presented in front of people who appreciate the quality of boxing, right? If we have a knockout artist in Deontay Wilder, he won't be liked. If we like one of the best defensive fighters that you ever want to see in Floyd Mayweather, we're not going to like it. If you want to see the most efficient offensive fighter that you've ever want to see in Floyd Mayweather, you're not going to like it. You won't even acknowledge it. You want to see only in New Russia, a guy like Terrence Crawford, who knocks out everybody that's bigger than him, could be called a boring fighting style by Boxing News 24/7. That publication is able to say negative things about all fighters that are doing ridiculous things. If it's Shakur Stevenson, if it's Terrence Crawford, if it's Devin Haney, there's never nothing positive. Fox News, which is heating up people, telling lies pretty much most of the day, and when they get a lawsuit, then they say, no, we're just an opinion channel. Then take news out of your name and call it Fox Opinion Channel, right? Because there's many people watching it thinking that it's the truths all the time. And, not even when soon you fact check, and people don't want to get fact checked. We don't want any facts. If somebody's saying in broad daylight alternative facts, so basically lies are cooler because that's what people want to hear. Man, it's just too despicable to try to whatever. So my point about fighters of color, man, listen, you go to England, you will be the antagonist at first. But as soon as the fight's over, you're going to be cheered because you are a boxer and they appreciate boxing. Okay, they're not going to go for you versus someone from England. That's not going to happen. And that's okay, right? But I'm just going to say this was just, inspired by the other day, going through boxing matches and say, oh, I remember watching Anthony Yarde versus Beterbiev. It was a good fight. Let me check that out again, right? I was just watching the fight, Anthony Yarde and Beterbiev. And so how many people, were going for Anthony Yarde? Because I'm just so programmed to just knowing, oh, the fighter of color, when he lands punches, it could be ignored or things like that. And, commentary is going to be a little bit funny, stuff like that. So you kind of expect it. And then when you see people are going for the guy, Anthony Yarde, you're like, wow, oh yeah, oh, England. I know, because I know they wasn't in Canada, right? But I just know it's so rare that a brother's getting cheered. And see, and this is the funny part about New Russia. Even when the brother is the underdog, he shouldn't be winning, right? Because the other guy's better, Normally when you're indifferent, you go for the underdog normally. That doesn't happen. So, this mentality that American blacks have, telling our kids, hey, don't act like that around a white guy. You got to act a certain way and all of that. And kids grow up thinking they got to do something special for people to commit more crimes than them. Most mass murders are not from black neighborhoods. Most people that are torturing some lady down in their basement don't come from black neighborhoods. Most people that are shooting up, I don't know, schools and all of that don't come from black neighborhoods. Most people that are committing white crime in broad daylight don't come from black neighborhoods. All right? So, this thing that, the little crime, the liquor stores that get robbed because poverty, poverty, there's going to be, it's inevitable that crime is going to be in districts where poverty exists. That's just natural, right? But the biggest heinous crimes are mostly the time not from black neighborhoods, right? And so now we have an occupation, basically, of Washington, D.C., and they're about to go to Los Angeles, Oakland, Chicago, and New York, where black mayors are, right? It's basically an occupation, and blacks are under attack amongst with the Hispanics as well. And so you're going to ignore that. That's a crime. It's actually criminal that something like that could happen, but half of New Russia is down with the program, right? And we're going to keep moving on as business as usual. You're going to have to, radical times need radical measures. And the black experience, whether it be the Olympics, whether it be some of the sports or some of the entertainment, some of the things you're doing, you're going to have to just say, hey, deprive. Then you don't get it. Then we're not going here, we're not doing that, and you're not doing that. You're going to have to start boycotting stuff. Get your money right where it's supposed to be and start boycotting stuff. Or just go. Like you have Turki Al-Sheikh, and he knows this. That's why he's trying to put fights different spots, neutral ground in Saudi Arabia. It's not just to build Saudi Arabia up. He knows what's going on. Believe me, we know what's going on. A billionaire knows what's going on. And trying to get things where these people, these black, extremely good black fighters, like Shakur Stevenson, who had a run-in with him and got that together right, like Devin Haney, who does all these awesome things, gets no credit for it. Oh, he's all right by Turki Al-Sheikh. Terrence Crawford made sure to get that fight, calls him a legend. People don't call, what new Russian calls Terrence Crawford a legend? Right? They're just starting to try to get on the bandwagon because he's about to fight Canelo and act like they were saying it before. But just say a year before. Matter of fact, just say before Errol Spence. Before Errol Spence. And he was doing legendary things before Errol Spence. right? He was doing legendary things before Errol Spence because being undisputed and going up to a weight division higher than you and knocking out everybody on your thing, everybody in front of you who were bigger than you, and to have the people from the PBC basically behind the gate talking about we can't fight you, right? That's pretty legendary because he was already number one pound for pound, and nobody was trying to come behind the PBC gate to fight the number one pound for pound who just came up in your division smaller than you. That's legendary if you're paying attention. It's like, oh, I'm going to hide behind this gate and say, well, I can't fight him because somebody's stopping me, blaming other people. No. Because all them people that wasn't going to fight Terrence Crawford because they were behind the damn gate, the PBC gate, wanted to fight Manny Pacquiao before he went to PBC. You know what I'm saying? So you just pay attention a little bit. So he was legendary before that. He started getting his props after beating Errol Spence. But then, hey, Errol Spence had the car accidents and all of that. Even after Errol Spence got rid of Ugas and Danny Garcia after car accidents, right? But couldn't handle Terrence Crawford, right? And so he was legendary before. Now he's legendary now, but Turki Al-Sheikh calls him legendary all the time. And I know he knows he's irking people with that, but he's gonna treat these fighters like they're supposed to be treated, period. And now the whole boxing world knows what Terrence Crawford is. But at the end of the day, if there's no appreciation for what you're doing, if you're getting booed constantly, then it's really actually, if you're not going to be able to fight in your hometown, then go over to England where you'll be appreciated, at least for a while. And then if you don't believe me, just watch fights of English fighters of color. If they're fighting somebody, if there's somebody, and somebody could be a white guy coming over there or a Mexican guy. But if the guy that's English, they're cheering for. Now, I don't know how he's getting treated when he's running around England or whatever, but what I've been told from Gina Yashiria, the comedian, is that, hey, it's subtle racism in England, not that up front in your face. She prefers the American up front in your face racism, but it's subtle there in England. But when you as a boxer and you're going out here boxing, sometimes it's good to be cheered. I mean, I remember me as a basketball player. I'll be honest, I love to go away and play in the away gyms, right? When the people are against you, and just having people, when you're taking care of business, and people go, ooh, and they come up to you after the games like, man, we was cheering against you, but damn, I be real. A lot of good athletes do like to shut the crowds up and have crowds against them, that element. But it's like all the damn time. I'm pretty sure, brothers are getting sick of it. So if you're sick of it, man, there's places for you to go and fight in front of people who appreciate what you're doing, regardless of what you're doing. And the last thing I'm going to say, William Scold versus Canelo Alvarez. Let's watch that again. Right? Really, you can watch that fight and William Scold didn't do anything that you thought was pretty good. Nothing. Being fit enough to do that for 12 rounds is nothing. To land more punches, it's nothing. Make Canelo reluctant to get rid of his shots? Nothing. To understand that, let me make this guy whose feet is in quicksand move a little bit because that's not what he wants to do. Let me frustrate him a little bit because that's not what he wants to do, right? I shouldn't have a game plan. I should just come in here and do what he wants me to do. No one can see anything good about William Scold's performance. Nothing. A guy that's, people just thought was, worlds below Canelo Alvarez. You know what I mean? That's what I'm just saying. There's nothing. I mean, you could probably say, well, it's not enough. And this is how I quote things. I'll be honest. You got to do a lot for the titles to change hands. And in that case, Canelo had 3 titles and he had 1. So you probably have to do a little bit more to change hands. But to act like this guy shouldn't have been in the ring with him and there was nothing you saw that he did well. It's just the way that those are the glasses you have on. I saw a lot of great things that William Scold did. So anyway, back to the point. Brothers, hey, there's England. If you want people to appreciate what you're doing, because New Russia just doesn't. Doma Sports Talk, worldwide. And I'm about to here, y'all.